taste is this moment, and all I can breathe is your light. And sooner or later it's over. I just don't want to miss you tonight. And I don't want the world to see me, 'cause I don't think that they'd understand. When everything's made to be broken, I just want you to know who I am. And you can't fight the tears that ain't coming, all the moment of truth in your lies. When everything feels like the movies, yeah, you bleed just to know you're alive. And I don't want the world to see me, 'cause I don't think they'd understand. When everything's made to be broken, I just want you to know who I am.
Welcome to the Missouri Freedom Initiative. Hey, gang, it's Saturday night. It's June 6th. It's 2026. Do you know where your national debt is? If you're listening on the radio, don't worry. I'll spell it out for you right now. It's $39,218 billion. That's right, $39,218. Apparently, there's like 535 people in D.C. that have mamas that need new pairs of shoes. That's the only thing I can think of, because I'm certainly not benefiting from any of this. Are you guys? It's the national debt. There's not a whole lot we can do about this on our side of the aisle. But I want you guys to know that I never thought it would get this high before the American people would be taking a second look at that and telling Washington, D.C. to slow their roll on spending. But we have too many distractions out there, right? Well, in Missouri, we're trying not to get into those trappings of those distractions. In Missouri, we're fighting the good fight here. We're exposing corruption everywhere we can. We're getting in politicians' faces and letting them know the reason for the Missouri Freedom Initiative is because of Illinois. And you guys are wanting to turn us into Illinois. So without further ado, let me go ahead and switch over to our panel tonight. We've got an all-star panel tonight. We've got Act for Missouri with us tonight, which is just awesome. We've got Jake Jackson with us. His fame up in St. Charles, if you're on Twitter, you definitely know who Jake is. But, of course, Act for Missouri has made a lot of news lately. In fact, even the lieutenant governor has chimed in on some of the news they've created by exposing some of the corruption in the Missouri Senate. And it has to do with something called standing votes. I'm not going to be the one to tell you about it, because they're here with us tonight, and they're going to tell us about what they went through to get that information and how they were literally shut down and stymied, and how the lieutenant governor chimed in, and Jake Jackson even has a story about it. But we're also going to be talking about data centers tonight, guys. Quite a bit of talk about data centers, flock cameras, and a few other things, probably a few other nuggets we'll throw in tonight. So I want to, first of all, thank everyone for joining us on Rumble, on Twitter, and on YouTube. And, of course, to our wonderful panel, we have Doug and Maya with us, long-standing members of the Missouri Freedom Initiative. Of course, we have Caleb with us. Also, he's been with us since 2021. We have Voodoo Queen with us. We have Act for Missouri with us. We have Misty Atchison with us as well tonight. Thank you very much for joining us, Misty. And basically, I say we get the conversation started, but I certainly want to hear from Mike Compton and from Amy Castro about the standing vote in the Missouri Senate. Now, guys, this is not federal news. This is all Missouri-based stuff. But basically what we're doing, and I'm sorry, I'm going to talk for just another few seconds here. Every state has this problem, gang. And when you hear about us exposing this in Missouri, it's not because we have a terrible state here. Every state deals with these problems. What we have in Missouri is people willing to stand up, point them out, and fight for the rights of Missourians. That's what we do as grassroots. So we expose it. And so for some reason, a lot of people on Twitter say, oh, I'd never move to Missouri. It's obviously a very corrupt state. No, no, no. The difference is we're exposing our corruption. In their state, they are not exposing their corruption. And so that's the difference. Yes, we're going to look ugly. Yes, we have warts once in a while. But it's because of the grassroots that these things generally get exposed. And it's because of people like Mike Compton and Amy Castro that we can bring you this somewhat exclusive story tonight, especially with Jake Jackson's tail end to the story as well. So once again, welcome to Amy and to Mike and to Jake Jackson and everyone else who's joined us. Guys, go ahead and let us know about the Missouri Senate standing vote and what you guys did to expose that.
Well, I think we probably better explain because that whole deal built, and it started with the fact that I don't know how many people realize this, but there's only 2 states in the United States where the Senate does not provide a video feed for their citizens, and Missouri is one of those states. And at the beginning of this session, Senator Mike Moon he proposed a rule to change that. Now, on the House side in the Missouri Assembly, they've been broadcasting a feed and archiving video for not only their floor activities but all their committees since I believe 2015. So the technology's already there, and the Senate already records videos, all of their floor sessions and all of their committee meetings. So they're already videoing it. They just aren't allowing the people to have access to it. So this built through the whole session. Amy can tell a little story about when we finally got a committee hearing for Mike Moon's rule, and she was there to testify for Act for Missouri and the citizens that we try to represent. And she can tell you a little story about the attitude that she got. And I guess she could start by first telling you that there were only 2 senators that showed up for the hearing. But
yeah, that was the case. Initially, I wasn't sure if I was going to testify or not. And then as I heard it go on and on, I got more, I don't know, irritated, I guess. And I thought, you know what? I don't have anything. I'm just going to go on the fly and go up there. And as I was my testimony, out of the corner of my eye, I could see Senator Sepoy, and he was smirking. So it got my attention, and I just went off and I said, why are you smirking? You know, and he's like, well, you act like everybody really is watching or they want to watch. And I said, well, they do. There are people that want to watch. Oh, he said, well, I doubt that. And it was just that tone of, it doesn't matter if there's one person that wants to watch, right? Or 1,000 people. It's the principle.
Well, he kind of implied that working people won't care about this. And then that's.
And it was just very insulting. And, you know, considering all his involvement in the committees and the utilities, and he's more than likely, if he doesn't have the appointment yet, he will be getting the appointment on the utilities commission pretty soon, I'm sure.
Is he about to term out, by the way, Amy?
Yeah,
Yes.
he is.
Yes.
Okay. This was his last term, so he'll be done in September, I think, officially, unless there's another special session called after. But yes, he'll be done. Senator Luke Meyer, who is the floor leader and was the chair of that committee that heard Mike Moon's deal. I will say, after the committee meeting, nothing happened, and Mike Moon got frustrated because there was no movement on it. And we were there one day, and we thought the Senate was going to come into session at 1 like they normally do. And so we usually start at the House, they start at 10 and then move to the Senate and watch their proceedings. And we we realized that the Senate had came in at the same time and started. So we rushed across the building to get to the Senate. When we got there, um, they were in the middle of this standing division. And so here's what happened is that was the day they were going to start working on the budget. And Mike Moon got up beforehand. When they're going through all their daily procedures, one of the things that they're asked is, does anybody have a resolution? And he got up and said, I do. And he brought his resolution straight to the floor, bypassed everything else. And of course, Luca Meyer got up and was like, are you really going to do this today, the day that we're going to work on the budget? And they kind of had a back and forth. And then Senator Mary Elizabeth Coleman got up and she said, I have a motion to table this this rule, basically. Now there was amendment, so there were ended up being two actual standing division, and she called for a standing division. So what happens is normally there'll just be a yes no vote, and that's where everybody says, you know, say yay or nay, and then they say the yays have it, or whichever way they want it to go, because there's really no
That's
counting.
another topic of discussion.
That's a similar issue, but they did call for a standing division. The way the standing division works is they'll say, if you agree with Mary Elizabeth Coleman's motion that you want to table this, rise, and then they get everybody to stand up for that. They count the number, they count who stood up, they have them sit down, and then they say, if you oppose it, stand up, and then they do the same thing, and then they tally the votes. They do not record who stands and who sets or who stands for what in the journal, though. So, so we were there late, and we were scrambling to try to write down the names of who all was standing, who wasn't for each one. And we thought we had it right. And anyway, through this whole thing, one of the things I just decided to start doing is, once I realized that they had video for this, I started sunshining anything that I thought we needed to have, from committee hearings to on the floor. So I just said, well, I'll just sunshine this too, and then we'll be able to pull it up and see for sure who stood and who didn't, who stood for it, who stood against it. And so they do charge for this. They charge $6.01 for each request, and they make me wait the exact length of time. You know,
3 full days. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten to know the cashier there, and she knows when it's coming, and I can go in there early. And she said, well, they won't give it to you till the time runs out exactly. So they make you wait the whole time. I finally get the video, and I'm pulling it up, and I'm just thinking I'm just going to record who stood for each side. And it gets to where they call for the standing division, and my screen goes blank, and it's the first standing division. And then they come back and they say, well, it was, I think it was 15 to 14. It was 1 vote difference between the two. And then they get, for the second standing division on it, the one that officially put it away. And the same thing, my screen goes blank, and they have it. And then they announce the vote, and then my screen comes back. And so I call Amy and I said, you're not going to believe this. And so we clipped that and put it out on the net right away, and got it out on all of our social media. And yeah, the Lieutenant Governor's been trying to push with this, and we talked to his office all session long about, you know, really we want the people to be able to see, and more importantly than just being able to see the video is the archive. They do archive the audio for the floor sessions, but they don't archive for the committee hearing at all. So if you're not able to go to the hearing, you can't go back and say, well, I wonder what people were saying about this bill or that bill, when you're trying to research the bills like you can in the House. And so we've been pushing for this all session long. And when he saw that video, I know he went down and talked to their chief in charge of their video technology, and I guess they got into a bit of a shouting match about it. And he was basically like, how could you guys have handled this any worse? And
there's nothing to hide.
They got into a bit of a shouting.
There's
nothing to hide. And these are elected officials. They're representing us. They're not voting for themselves. They're voting for the people that sent them there. And they have a right to know where they stand on all of these issues.
Absolutely, they do. And the fact that, actually, that's pretty brazen, basically with your sunshine request to actually send that blacked out. And they didn't think that would end up on social media?
Well, I'm surprised, but I know that, they clearly they weren't happy that I started sunshining
Yeah.
all session long. And I'm sure that didn't make them happy. And there's been another incident with Senator Lueckemeier's office where he basically, so on the tax bill, they did the switcheroo at like 11 o'clock or 11:30 that night when they came in. So I just sunshined and wanted to know, were all the proper procedures followed on that? I wanted to get any communication back and forth. And so I got back I sent it to him and Cindy O'Loughlin's office, a sunshine request. Cindy O'Loughlin sent back and said, well, there's nothing to give you, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. There might not have been. No problem there. Lueckemeyer sent back and said, yes, there is something, and you need to send me $25, and then I'll release it and mail it back to you. And I sent back and said, well, I'm at the Capitol all the time. I'll come and pay it and come and get it. So I went down to his office after we paid it and brought the receipt to his staff and gave it to him. And she gave me a folder, and she gave me a printed copy of the final version of the bill that you could get off the internet. And so that was basically, to me, I sent back a message to him and said, well, I guess you probably got a good chuckle out of that, Senator Lueckemeyer, but that's not good governance. If there was nothing there, you should have just told me there's nothing there. And he sent back and said, well, we had to charge you because I had to make sure, and I had to charge you got charged for my staff checking to see if there was something there.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know. I have a little bit of a juvenile streak. I turned into that psycho kid from that old movie from the 80s, Better Off Dead. I want my $25 back.
Well, we did go out in the hallway because she kind of threw the fold. I mean, we walked in the door and she already was waiting, and so she just we said, "Oh, we're here for Act from Missouri." And before you practically got that out, the folder was in our face.
Yeah, and she never even spoke to us. She handed us the folder and anyway.
And we did. We went out in the hallway, and our first reaction was like, "Oh, come on, get real." And I did want to march back in there and be like, "Come on."
I've got similar stories, actually, but it's from Senator Lincoln Huff's office. And so he and I just didn't get along. I tried. I really did. But I want to, first of all, thank you very much for doing that. That's something I've been busy, but I didn't even think of doing that. And I know that's been going on for years and years and years. It's just like it's weird. And in fact, my perspective may be very different from the average Missourians, but it was like, I've accepted that corruption. I'm going to go work on this over here. That's how bad things are getting in Missouri. When we start accepting the corruption, it's just normal business procedures for our Senate, that, our public officials. Yep. And so I'm going to be the first one to admit that I just included that into my bias as normalcy. And so thank you very much for doing that, because I totally dismissed it about 3 years ago. I was like, hey, I've got other things to work on. But that is one of the very important aspects of actually showing that we do have hidden votes in our Senate. Now, thankfully, that's not happening in the House. But the Senate, has different rules. So once again, for those of you watching in, basically, whether it's live or a recording from later, we are talking about the Missouri Senate.
There's more reasons than just those votes that people don't see. What we realized when we started going down to the Capitol regularly and watching the Senate sessions, and we watched from the time they open to the time they close at night, usually, and then watching versus listening, we realized it's a totally different world, because the first thing you realize is there's rarely more than 4 or 5 senators that are even there listening. And so when they do the voice votes that are also important, because a lot of times those are adding amendments onto a bill that's completely changing a bill, those yays and nays, there may be 3 Democrats there and 1 Republican, and we end up with a Democrat horrible amendment added to it. And that's because the others they're in their offices and they say, well, we've got meetings and stuff. We don't have time to go. Well, Mike
Meeting with
Moon
their
sits there.
constituents.
Mike Moon sits there almost every moment that they're gavelled in. He's in his desk. Joe Nicole is there probably the second most. And, there's several that, I mean, we were halfway through session before we saw Justin Brown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Some of them look like they fall asleep too.
Yeah.
I think some of them have.
They have.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Justin Brown may have had an excuse, though. Often he brings his dog to work with him and feeds him popcorn in his office. So that may be what he was doing. And I'm not trying to out you, Justin. I'm just saying I've seen you do that more than once. And while you were talking to me, you were more interested in feeding your dog little pieces of popcorn. And that happens. Basically, they got to have their priorities, right?
Right.
So there's no resolution to this, right? The lieutenant governor has chimed in and said this practice. Go ahead.
Well, right now the way it sits is that they've agreed to put it out to bid to see how much it would cost to do this, even though they have a company that's doing it in the House side. And the House side, they say it's $60,000. Now I know that we could do it much cheaper than that if they wanted to do it that way, but they're going to try to have it be some dollar amount so that they can make a fuss about this whole thing. The bottom line is if it's 60,000, they still need to do it. It's embarrassing that Missouri is one of only 2 states where the citizens don't have it. A lot of states even have it on a cable access channel like a C-SPAN that people can access and watch their hearings and their floor activities on. We're so far behind in transparency, and for our state motto being the show me state, that's just, I mean, it's
well, I mean, one thing to add to that, Mike, like I've talked with people who have done activism in other state legislators, and their state legislators where their senators and reps have their own cell phones. So you can pretty much get a hold of them at any time, like a state issued cell phone. Yeah. So like we don't even have that in Missouri.
We should probably bring in Jake here and let him tell his after we posted this, his experience with his rep or his senators in his area.
Yeah, so I was at home and I wasn't even listening to the audio or anything. I was just I got a notification in one of the Signal chats, and it was Jeremy Jacobs that was there. He started sharing photos. He basically said, "Oh, the live video bill was killed because some of the people's lobby Missouri with Rob Carter, and that's a priority bill for us." I was watching that and waiting for that to possibly come up or something. I had a feeling that wasn't going to go through a committee or anything. And so Jeremy Jacobs said what happened in the chat, and that basically some of the senators allowed it to get killed. They weren't in the chamber. And he mentioned some of the senators from St. Charles. And so I started investigating what happened. And so Schnelting is my senator. And I reached out to him. And the word at the time from Jeremy was that Schnelting didn't vote at all, that he just walked out the chamber or something. And so I asked him, I was like, hey, why didn't you vote on the live video bill? And he said, yes, I actually voted for it, but then I had to walk out and pee. And so that was less than honest because that conflicts with what Mike Moon told me. And then I reached out to Senator Schroer, and I had heard that he voted to kill the amendment on the bill. Then he walked out. And so he told me I voted no to kill it, and then I had to walk out and talk to the Attorney General or something. And that was not the truth either. And so later on, I was able to reach out to Senator Moon, and we did an interview for the first episode of my podcast, the Missouri First Podcast. And he basically said that both Schnelting and Schroer both voted to kill the amendment, and then they walked out. And that was 12-11. And if one of them and maybe like another senator had been there and voted, the lieutenant governor could have broke the tie, and they could have continued debate.
Well, there were several that didn't vote. Me and Amy's state senator is Rick Bratton. He didn't even show up to the chamber. Of course, he missed more than a third of the votes this session anyway. But
he still works there.
But we could have. I mean, if he would have showed up, if I think Jill Carter would have showed up, if any one of those who we would suspect say they're big conservatives and want transparency and stuff. They all knew this was coming. If they didn't know initially, they knew before Mary Elizabeth Coleman got up that Mike Moon had called it, and they should have got their butts. It's not that far of a walk to get down there and get in the chamber. And if any one of them had came, yeah, like he said, it would have been at least a tie vote, and then the lieutenant governor would have broke the tie, and we would have video in the Senate right now.
He brought this up, Mike Moon, and that he didn't notify anyone. He just brought it up randomly.
Yeah.
He brought it up at the most opportune time because they completely ignored it. They kept pushing him off. He tried to go through the process of, I'll take it before a committee, I'll get my hearing, and then normally after that, they bring it to the floor. But because it was a Senate rule, he was able to bring it. He didn't have to do that. He was just trying to be like Mike Moon is, the nice guy, and follow the procedures to the letter. And so he decided that was the day that he had the best chance to get it through, and so he brought it that morning.
Oh, wow. First off, Mike, you piqued my interest in something. I've got to ask. I'm going to bite, and it'll probably end up in a question here at some point. What is the other state that doesn't transmit video from their state senate?
It's North Carolina.
North Carolina? Okay, gotcha. Yeah, not what I was expecting.
And then they're like us. Their Senate doesn't, but their House does, I believe. All the state houses do, but it's just 2 state Senates that don't.
And it's because they're so much better. Senators are better than us, Mike.
Our Senate is, I call it the Imperial Senate, because they believe that they're definitely above the people. They've got their roles reversed in a lot of areas.
Sure. When Cindy O'Loughlin walks in, they're playing Darth Vader's theme song and everything. I've seen it, so I know what you're talking about. And by the way, that was a dumb joke. That doesn't actually happen in the Missouri Senate. They don't have the money for theme songs for senators.
It might be Hail to the Queen, though.
Yeah, something like that.
Compared to the House is just a daycare. So
yeah, from the Senate point of view, yeah. But and actually, let me make one more point here before we move on. The whole reason all these politicians who are running for office, and it doesn't matter what state or for federal office, they keep saying, "Oh, we need more transparency. That is code. That means we have corruption. We're hiding the corruption." And that's exactly why there is not transparency. And so this is why I'm encouraging politicians that are running for office right now, use the C word. And it's not the one you think. It's corruption. Corruption is what you need to say. We need to start getting a handle on the corruption in our state instead of, well, we need to see what we could do to increase our transparency, government transparency. For all intents and purposes, people, this is your government. This is your government. You elect them, you pay for them, and they're hiding from you what they're doing in the background. They're hiding from you. That is the lack of transparency everyone's complaining about. So I have to echo Act for Missouri on this. I mean, this is so important to expose the corruption and to do it whenever you find it right away. And so thank you very much for doing that. We've dabbled in that a little bit ourselves in the past. And so we've been successful in that. But at the same time, like I said, I think I said it before we got started, that a lot of people really think that Missouri is just a corrupt place because we're exposing all this stuff. No, every state has this going on. It doesn't matter what state you're in. It's happening, folks. Expose it. Find it and expose it. And and that is just one of the many corruption stories we have from the state of Missouri, and it's just the most recent one. And it got a lot of attention. The lieutenant governor even chimed in on it. So that's good stuff. Okay. Go ahead.
I was going to say too, there's a lot of states that are actually a lot worse than Missouri with higher populations.
Yep.
Which makes it harder for them to do that. By the way, the stuff about Searpoy earlier, that is of no surprise to any of us here.
I know. It just went from that I'm going to be professional and I'm going to go and do my testimony. And then I just saw that and I could not. I'm like, you smart ass jerk that I've sat and watched. I mean, I just wanted to let it rip, and there I am.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
Mike wasn't there to be like, no, stay calm.
That's the thing. Searpoy, he's been known to be a complete and utter jerk to everybody that walks in his office, including his own constituents.
You know,
Well,
he's
the
going
whole
to be appointed. He's going to be, I'm sure, on the public, what is it called, Mike? The Public Service Commission?
yeah,
Or,
but the whole tone of that committee meeting,
yeah, it was
you know,
just,
was not about, well, we need to do this for the people. It was, well, how is this going to impact the senators' lives?
yes.
You know, that it's going to be an issue for us. It was all about how is this going to disrupt their deal? And
This is the
and Senator Lukemeyer said, you know, me and Senator O'Loughlin, we spend a lot of time making sure the train runs on time and we get everything lined up. And we're doing all this. We're going to have people standing up and grandstanding, and other people might not be willing to speak as freely because they know that they might say something that they might get called out on. You know, it was all about them. It wasn't about the people at all.
That's the thing.
Nothing about the people.
When you're in your capacity as a public official, when you are in that capacity and you are at work doing that, you don't have a right to privacy with that. None of it. You don't have that. You, in your official capacity, when you're acting, being paid by the public, you know, it's one thing you get some kind of, you know, whatever in your personal life, but once you are there and you are doing the votes, you're in the committees and everything else, you are a public servant. You don't have a right to hide anything you do in that room.
And this isn't their personal stuff. This is them doing our business.
Yes.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
Yep. And
that's the thing. I'm gonna, what was it? I was gonna throw in there too that, okay. Oh no, I lost what I was gonna say.
Okay, well, I'm gonna bring up something real quick. Back in 2022, we started something, but we didn't take it really seriously. But when we get our website redesigned, we'll get into this. We started a program. It's Adopt a Senator and Adopt a Rep program. If your senator and your rep are totally unresponsive, you could go to Jefferson City with us on a knock and shock and officially adopt a different rep to represent you and a different senator to represent you.
Mine is right, Wolfman.
And I even created a form letter that you could send to your rep or senator to let them know that you have disowned them because of their lack of communication with you, and that you have adopted this person now to be your senator or this person to be your rep.
Oh, I love that.
So we'll take that very seriously going forward into 2027 on our website. We'll have the forms and everything you can fill out to adopt a senator or adopt a rep, because this is Sierra Poi was one of the worst, but Lincoln Huff was one of them too. I know a lot of people that are constituents. I am not. Mike Moon is my senator. Bob Titus is my rep. And so I have two real good ones. Solid. You guys know both of them.
Yep.
So I'm fortunate. Yeah. But the folks in Springfield that have Lincoln Huff, they complain to me constantly that he never returns phone calls. He's never available for office visits. He won't come off the floor, you know, so on and so forth. The same thing is true with Sierra Poi. Sierra Poi is the same way. I've tried to visit with Sierra Poi, I think, son of a gun. Let me turn off my phone. Hang on. It's tied into my audio board. Hang on.
I mean, there was a reason Huff lost his primary.
Sorry about that. So, but at any rate, you guys get the point, though. That's why we have
the entertaining this session.
You have to unmute. I think you might have to unmute.
Okay, me? I'm muted.
That might have. Hang on a second.
You're muted, Patrick.
Oh, gotcha. Caleb?
Uh-oh.
How did that happen, Caleb?
Patrick.
Keep it going, Caleb. Keep it going.
We lost him.
No, it didn't lose him. I can click. Goatfoot, are you able to go over there and click on the drop-down menu on his thing?
Okay, there we go. Sorry about that.
Yep.
There he is.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. That was a work call, and it's an emergency, but we're going to keep the live stream going. I'll just go there tonight when we're done. A technical thing. I'm an IT guy. So at any rate, so that's why we ended up doing that Adopt a Senator and Rep program, and we're going to reinstate that in 2027, full bore on our website. So basically, people have the form they can fill out and, you know, basically come with us and knock and shock, and then officially adopt a new rep and a new senator. I feel that is a really good way to shame them personally. And then when they fill out the forms, I want them to give them back to us with the signatures on it so we can put it on our website. And so we could show who's very unresponsive to their constituents up there. And we don't care if they're Democrat or Republican. But in our case, it's mostly the Republicans or Republican constituents that are complaining about their rhino or corporatist representation up in Jefferson City, generally. But Sierra Point and Huff are repeat offenders.
I was gonna say I'm the next county over from you guys over in Cass, and
At Bratton too.
Bratton used to be good. Now he's I had a gut feeling a couple years ago, just based on how certain things were changing, how he was do things. He was going to run for higher office, and then
Well, this term he would come down to the floor, and like I said, we on our website we've got a place where you can see how many we only follow the votes for the third reads, the final votes of each chamber on each bill. But he missed 35% of the final votes on bills, so he didn't even vote. And in fact, he was chair of the education committee. And when they got to do the budget, the very first bill they do is Desi's budget, and he didn't make it there in time to vote for that.
And he was the one. Remember when he was first going around, he was talking to groups. I don't know. It was his first term. He's like, this is your government, and you need to get up there, and you need to go this. So Mike and I are like, okay, we go up there, and he's like,
that's when we were trying to figure out how can we get involved, and he came to our We the People, and he said that, and we said, okay, well, we can do that. We'll start going down there. And then the next year, he's like, these people, they're watching everything I do. I can't
even go to the bathroom.
There's a part of me that thinks there's a piece of his chief of staff that's starting to do that. I don't know.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been suspected for quite a while.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's all I'm gonna say there. I'll share a couple other things after stream, but yeah.
Okay, so we kind of covered that Senate stuff. Let's talk a little bit about data centers. And first of all, your guys' take on them. First of all, there's a lot of interesting data coming out from both sides. But one thing we've noticed, particularly on social media, is it's one side or the other. Now, data centers are a necessity. We all understand this. Okay, so even before we start talking about data centers, we understand why they're there, why they're needed. However, it is very important for everyone to know that we have 10 times more data centers than the next closest country, which is China. China has like 450. We have 5,300 currently. Mm-hmm. And they currently have planned about another 5,000 more, putting us at 10,000 data centers. And we're talking humongous data centers they're talking about putting in America. So, basically we will have more data centers and more computing power than all the countries in the world combined data centers, I think, when we do that, if that goes through. However, there is good news. And we'll go into the pros and cons in a second. But the good news is the American citizens are standing up and saying no more to this. No more. You're not taking our resources. We don't want this data center here, even though, of course, the county commissioners have been paid off to vote yes on it. The people still show up to say no. The county commissioners say yes anyway in a midnight vote. And we even know of one county in Missouri where they recalled every single one of their commissioners that voted to do it. And they're holding a new election for brand new commissioners, and then they'll revisit the data center because the commissioners simply wouldn't listen to the constituents. They just wouldn't listen. And this is part and parcel of the problem that I think is an underlying problem that you're talking about with what's happening in the Senate. It's an underlying problem because we're being so gaslit by our own party, by the GOP. We're being gaslit, basically into, they're trying to convince us, no, if you're conservative, you want this. Mm-hmm. If you're conservative, you want to get rid of the income tax. You don't want to get rid of property tax or personal property tax. I know you guys have been asking for it for like 15 years, but you don't really want that. What you really want is to go ahead and get rid of the income tax. This is gaslighting, and the GOP is not listening to their constituents anymore, just like the county commissioners are not listening to their people on the data centers. Yeah. And so at any rate, I'll tell you what, I'm going to mute my mic on purpose, and I'm going to get my dog outside, and you guys just go ahead and start running with it. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well,
Yeah,
Mike,
so I just wanted to
why
share
don't you give them
here.
your theory about
Well,
why they're overbuilding?
well, I've been looking into some of that, and we put out an article not long ago, found some data from MIT looking at what happened in China. China massively built their structure earlier than we did, starting this. And right now, there are about 500 or 600 data centers in China. But according to this report, about 40% of them are completely empty because they just don't need the capacity. And they've gone to a more distributed model of AI where it runs off of your computer, which is actually what Act for Missouri does. We have a server that runs our AI. And the way that I can explain this best between the two models is if you think of the early days when you had AOL, where you would log into it and you got mail,
You've
you
got
would
mail.
log into them and you were trapped in their structure, and that was your internet experience. And now we've had more of a distributed system where there's websites on all these different servers everywhere around. Well, what these AI companies I think are trying to do is the same thing, and it's actually worse because when you use Chat GTP or any of the other ones, you're paying to use their service, but they're also you're having to send your data to them. So they're getting access to your data. They're getting access to the questions and what you're wanting the AIs to do. And so you're basically training their AIs so they can become better, but also they can make money off of it. But yet they're still charging you, where the distributed AI would work. You would download a program on your computer and your data would stay on your computer, and it would answer your questions. It could still go out to the internet to grab things that when you're trying to do research and stuff, but especially for a business, that's a much better model than what we've got. And guess what? It doesn't require these huge data centers to do that.
I mean, we were talking about that today because I was saying just the volume of data centers that they're having, it leads one to believe that this is more nefarious than, we're just keeping data. To me, it's like surveillance.
It's really, if you think about the size of these, it's probably not so much about the computers. It's about, and I think we're going to talk about the flock cameras, all that video to record 24/7 all over the country and all these different counties, and to keep that stuff week after week, month after month, year after year, is going to require a huge, massive amount of storage space. And that's probably more what they're trying to do. And then they can run the AIs on it and they can say, we need to check into what Amy's been doing back over the years and see if we can find something on her. And don't think that they won't do that. It's
really scary.
The other big problem that we have with the data centers is not just the worries about the environment and the electric, but also the way that this is being done with these county commissioners signing NDAs. Our government should not be signing NDAs so the people can't see what their dealings are being done. The tax breaks, if this is great business for Missouri, then we shouldn't have to offer them 20-year tax abatements to bring us here. And we know that in data center, you're not going to get a lot of jobs. I mean, the construction jobs will be there at the beginning, but the permanent jobs, there'll be some high-paying jobs, but it's not going to bring tons of jobs. And it's certainly, we're against any business getting these tax abatements, and especially for the data centers, because in 20 years, the technology is probably going to shift so much that they may not even be here, or they'll move on to another community that will give them another 20 years somewhere else. So these communities may never see the true benefits that they're being promised on these.
They won't. They won't.
On top of which, too, a lot of these data centers are large-scale data centers, which are for AI use only. Basically, this is the Achilles heel of the entire system. If China can have a total lockdown society with security cameras, if they can have it, piping their phone data right into these data centers, and if they can have, basically their digital IDs and their digital wallets and their digital currency and their cars being turned off with 430 or 450 data centers, why can't we do that with 450 data centers? So clearly, one of two things is going on here. Number one, China is by far way more advanced than we could ever hope to be with computer chips. Or number two, they're lying to us. There's only those two possibilities. And so creating the AI superstate, the technocracy that I think these people have been envisioning since, Agenda 21, actually, I think this is part and parcel of what's going on here. So the large scale ones, and by the way, that's another thing. When they talk about a closed loop system for water, Google loves to talk about this. It's closed loop. We only need to draw in 1 million gallons or 10 million gallons one time, and we just recycle the water. Well, they can't filter it enough to get basically all those heavy metals out. So eventually they will have to dump the water and put fresh water in. That's going to happen at some point in time. But think about the electricity concerns. Now, this has been all over social media, so I'm not going to take up too much time. But gosh darn it, for about 30 years, they were telling us, and in fact, I'm going to do my best to do an Al Gore impersonation for everybody right now, so enjoy. The Earth hath a fever. We have to watch our carbon footprint. Okay, so we're all warming. We're all going to die.
Yeah.
The Earth has a fever. And it's because of electricity use, carbon, and so all of a sudden, all of 30 years of literally gaslighting the entire world suddenly flipped on its side somehow in a space of 6 months, 30 years worth of brainwashing and propaganda, so we can have data centers. And then everyone's all in on it. Oh, I have no problem with it. Oh, yeah, go America. We should have more data centers in every other country. And you have politicians actually pumping their fists in the air. And so but there's pros and cons to data centers. So I'm not going to be an idiot, especially on a live stream about this. I get that we do have needs for some data centers. But the scale of which that they're proposing for in the United States is beyond imagination. There is only one possible reason, which is literally to build on China's model of a digital lockdown grid police state, and to literally do it 10 times better than China did it. That is the only reason for this, gang, in my personal opinion. And yes, people will say, oh, Pat, you were in the tinfoil hat. I get that a lot in Jeff City, by the way. But the fact is, they are talking about quantum computer systems going into these large-scale data centers. And the only reason to do that is for AI. That's it. And so AI is a losing game. Everyone's losing money on AI now. It's not the big boom that it was, 2 years ago. So Jake, you've been fighting this battle too. I mean, what's the general consensus? Yes. I understand that pretty much up in St. Charles County, this is pretty much a null point now. Is that right?
Yes. So they just passed a data center complete ban on any data centers in the city of St. Charles. Yes, and that was because of last year they pushed that data center in here in St. Charles, and that got scrapped. And the one in Festus, that was the same one that was supposed to be in St. Charles.
Yep.
I do know. Let's see here.
So that is
Jackson
wonderful.
County.
And there's other ways of doing it too. A total ban is great. But another way to do it is just make the regulations so difficult that it can't be done, just like the politicians do to us on our properties. And so if you get your county commissioners to say, okay, you're going to pay, first of all, you're not going to get any subsidies from government, from local or from state government, period, end of story, nothing. And you're going to pay for all of your own electricity, but you're going to have to source your own water. You're not going to get it from the town's water supply.
Right. Well, what's crazy about that data center they wanted to push here in St. Charles was that it was right on the wellhead for the entire county.
Of course it was.
Oh wow, yeah.
They
literally wanted to suck the town dry.
It was it was a flood zone too. It was a complete flood zone. It floods like almost every year.
Yeah.
So, oh god.
So this fight rages on all over the United States of America and in Missouri as well. I understand that they're looking at putting 2 fairly large data centers up at Webster County. So in the Marshfield area is my understanding. That's Webster. Is that Webster or Wright County? I can't remember. No, that's Webster. Okay. And so at any rate, I got to probably get a lead on that and find out how it's going up there, because actually they should be having hearings already or very soon. Do you know anything on that, Misty?
Lori Rook has had an event or two. Ike Skelton went down and spoke. Stacy Shore was down there as well. they're definitely participants in the Camden County ordinance that was passed that's very strict. Now, the Camden County ordinance does not outlaw them. I dropped the link in the chat to the Camden County ordinance. If you read through it, it's pretty simple, but it's pretty broad in scope, as in it limits the amount of sound, the amount of vibration, the placement of backup generators, the type of water, how much water you can use, that you have to provide your own electricity. So while it doesn't say you can't do something, which Ike Skelton is a major proponent of, we can't tell people what to do, but we should be able to protect our own property if it sits next to a data center. So that's why it's written the way it is. And I was going through it and I really like it. Mike and Amy were with me at the event on Thursday night here in the Lake area where Ike launched his campaign, and Ike is all in on fighting the flock, fighting all of the over the top surveillance, and fighting the data centers as well.
He's going to be doing, while we're on that, he's going to be holding a town hall in Jeff City on June, I think it's the 16th. We'll put it up on our Facebook afterwards, where it's at and stuff. And I know there's others that are going to be planned. I know Dusty Blue's been doing some up in northern Missouri on this. Lori Rook's been doing it. So there's several of them that are running for state senate that are getting ahead of this and holding town halls with the community and saying, you know, what are we going to do about this? How can we fight this? And getting their feedback as well. So it's a good sign for some of these candidates that are running for senate. But it's also an opportunity for the public to start to get engaged too on what to do with these. And like, you know, I was heavily involved in Camden, of course. And so he'll have, I believe Stacy Shore is going to be there at the town hall in Jeff City, and they'll be going over their ordinance and how you can do that in your community too. So
you're correct, Mike. That town hall is Tuesday, June the 16th at 6 o'clock in Jefferson City on Country Club Drive. And then he's doing another one June the 25th in California, Missouri, which is not very far from Jefferson City, but it is another opportunity to hear that presentation.
Thank you, Misty, for doing that.
Thank you for picking that up.
Misty, you're awesome. And Misty, you know, actually, I haven't checked it out lately, but since Dean Plocker's gone, maybe they're not using the whole office for that liquor cabinet anymore. Maybe we could set up a data center in there. I don't know if a proposal's been made or not yet. In fact, I've said on Twitter that basically all the flock cameras are supposed to actually help fight crime, right? So let's put them all in the Capitol. And so basically, because that's where most of the crime happens in Missouri.
Isn't it ironic that they push them on the cameras on us, but they won't let us have the cameras on them?
That was exactly the point I was making on Twitter. And that was after you guys did your expose. So I was kind of riding your coattails there for a little bit, but I think it's a valid question. They pushed them on us, but they want a lack of transparency on their side, but they want us to be totally transparent, even in public. So, you know, and I don't know what to say. I mean, some people call it hypocrisy. I call it corruption. It is corruption, you know, any way you slice it. So, but the data centers are a big thing going on right now. There's meetings happening all over the country, and of course in Missouri, all over the state. And what's really cool is how many people are showing up to these meetings. And I want to give a shout out to Dent County. Dent County, there is a private citizen, and his name is Denver Ellis, who's been holding hearings because their county commissioners not only will not hold the meetings, but they won't even show up to them. They're in favor of data centers, and I do believe they want one there, but the people don't. So the people are meeting without their county commissioners and letting their voices be heard, and the county commissioners literally don't care. They just don't care. So it's time to get all of them out of there, get fresh people in there in their county commission. But it's the same story over and over. You know, we keep talking about they're simply not listening to us.
Maybe the good thing is this is the issue that finally gets Missourians to say enough is enough and get involved, because we are seeing people show up to these town halls in record numbers. Franklin County's just had a similar outpouring, and their commissioners, The other day, they wouldn't let the people speak. They said, if you want to testify, you have to write it on paper. You can't publicly address them. And, you know, it's all over the state, but the people aren't just saying, oh, well, they're getting bigger numbers and coming right back at them. In Henry County, a couple of years ago, their commissioners signed a deal to build to let these people bring in and build a giant solar farm, and they immediately were able to get rid of one of their commissioners, and they've got another one coming up in this election. It looks like they're going to have 2 of the 3 commissioners overturned in Henry County over that. So it can be done if all the people have to do is stand up. They don't, you know, that's all it takes.
Yeah, agreed. And so, as you say, this is a sexy topic and it's a hot topic. And basically, maybe that's what it takes, you know, basically to get, you know, the citizenry actually involved in their local government. And also, I say this on a lot of live streams, but I'll say it again. Gang, those of you who are focused on D.C. because you're addicted, you know, to the drama and the intrigue in D.C., your state has way more drama and intrigue than D.C. has ever had before. Yes. But you have no idea until you actually take a look. So if your deal is, I'm too addicted to federal news, I spend my time on social media commenting on federal news because I'm addicted to the drama and the intrigue, get involved in your state. Trust me, if you that addiction will get fed. You have my word on that.
And here's the bonus on that. The bonus on that is your state has a greater effect on your daily life than the federal does. Absolutely. And you have a better opportunity to make change at the state level than you will ever at the federal level. But if we all do that at the states, if all the states do that, we will fix the federal eventually too.
Yeah, that's right. We need enough states cleaning up their own backyards that can gang up on the federal government and let them know, you know, basically this is not the way we're going to go anymore. And so basically it takes states cleaning up their own backyards. But if everyone's focused on federal, we can never get there, right? So one thing I have to tell you guys, because I've never talked to you before, especially on this level, is I was writing a lot of legislation for a lot of states back in 2023, and it was silver and gold related. And so at any rate, while I was talking to politicians all over the country, we're talking about state politicians, and I was telling them about the initiative and what we do with our knock and shock operations. They were blown away. They said, we never have, all we have is lobbyists walking our halls. We don't have, we barely have any citizens coming. And I've heard that from Idaho. I've heard it from Iowa. I've heard it from Arkansas. I've heard it from Montana. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Nebraska, Arizona. So we have something to be very proud of here. We have probably in the United States the most active, if you will, residents, you know, participating in the political system and at least coming up to the Capitol and showing their faces and literally going eyeball to eyeball with your rep. And so I'm really happy that I live in a state where people care enough to do that. But we need more, obviously. But the fact is most states have none at all. They have none. And they're getting steamrollered, aren't they? Those other states. We see on social media, oh, this law passed in California, this law passed in New York, this law passed in, you know, Illinois. Well, that's because the people didn't stand up.
Well, I also think just people innocently enough figure, well, I elected my official and he or she's going to go up and do the job I've elected them to do as they should do it. And then they kind of let their guard down.
Sure.
And then you realize, oh my God, they're not doing any of that. They're actually listening to lobbyists or, you know, all the stuff that we know.
But and it's probably the education system, because freedom is a two-sided coin. On the other side of freedom is responsibility. And so that's the thing. People think their responsibility ends at the you know, voting in the polls, and that's where your responsibility for freedom begins. That's just the very beginning of that road. The rest of it is staying on your rep and your senator, staying on your elected officials. And I do a lot of public speaking too, and I always point at the crowd and say, if your rep and your senator don't know your name, that is not their fault. That's not their fault. That's your fault. So get active, get involved, make sure they know your name. But the data centers are a great example of this because we are seeing county commissioners directly going against what everyone in their county wants, and doing it boldly in your face, and to. In my mind, the only reason that they have to do this is because they think that there's jobs that are going to be going to probably corporations that are their friends and their college roommates, cousin or something like that, and just spreading out the construction jobs for. Other than that, they're just getting paid, because when you have 400 or 500 people show up to a meeting all saying, no, we are not doing this in our county, and then they hold a vote that very night at midnight saying, yes, we're doing it. That is really strange to me. I mean, that is political suicide, and they're willing to commit political suicide in order to try and get the data centers in their communities.
Well, don't you think the contracts and they're already signed, sealed, and delivered, and now they just have to fulfill the promise because they bypass the citizens? Don't you think this was all? I feel like this was
possible.
Preset.
Yeah, it
Did
is
you guys
possible.
see what happened in Franklin County?
No, tell us what happened in Franklin County,
I think
Jake.
I think Planning and Zoning Commission, they shut off public comment,
Yes.
so the public can't make their voices heard.
Right.
Wow.
And
So
Okay.
it makes me
shots,
feel
by the
like
way.
the public opinion
sounds like-
or public comments are irrelevant. The deal's already been made. It's coming
Yeah.
through. The money's transferred hands. It's done.
Wow.
Boy, a lot of the if you could find a dirt on a lot of these pre-contracts like this without approval from council, or you could find, that they're completely shutting off public comment. There's a lot of lawsuits you could bring.
Well, I think it's the I think there's a lawsuit on the NDAs. I don't think an elected official
Oh no,
should be
an
able
elected
to
official
sign
doesn't
an
have the
NDA.
right to sign an NDA over public policy.
But a lot of the county commissioners have and did.
Yeah.
They don't have a right to do that, but if they're doing it anyway, that's lawsuit. Shutting off public comment is lawsuit. Pushing people out of and shutting them down in committee is lawsuit. People have won lawsuits over a lot less. And then throw in there too that you now have, potential of contracts being filed before, and then if you have a county commissioner or somebody that says they can either say two things. They can either be forced into a position to where in discovery where they'd be able to say, oh yeah, well, yeah, we had to sign this contract, or B, they say, because under the Fifth Amendment, they can't be prosecuted if under an NDA, or they can't be forced to incriminate themselves somewhere else, but they still have to say that they signed an NDA, which is also. So either way, they're backed in a corner, and they deserve to be prosecuted for it.
Yeah, I just think for so long they've gone unchecked that they just, nobody's checked. It's our fault. I mean, we haven't checked. I mean, when's the last time anybody went into their
commissions? A lot of these county commissions meet at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday.
Yeah, that's
happens a lot.
But like ours, I will say you can call them, but I mean that's what I would ask: how many citizens actually go look at the agenda or go look at the minutes or have a good discussion? I mean, it's rare. It's rare. Sad, but true. So we get what we got because we didn't pay attention.
Well, that may be the case, but when people show up in droves like that to these meetings and they just immediately it's automatic gainsaying. Hey, listen, by law, you guys get to have your say, but we've already made our decision.
Yeah.
And when all the people say no and they still say yes anyway, I mean, obviously there's corruption there.
Right.
And
Well,
if there's pre-signed contracts, then there's severe corruption to go along with that.
Yeah.
And that's grounds for a lot of lawsuits, and that's also grounds for invalidation of a lot of contracts.
And Gabby on YouTube says, Jeff City is a cesspool in a good place to put a data center, smack dab where the capital is. And I'm curious, do we have any engineers here?
I heard people suggest that maybe we should put one on Mike Kehoe's cattle ranch too. So.
Okay, well, we could do that. Well, Jeff City may make sense, though. Is there any way we can... turn hot air into electricity? because there's an awful lot of that up in Jeff City.
Peltier units.
You know,
Peltier units.
There you go. There you go. So maybe there's hope for Jeff City yet. Maybe we can have a data center and a liquor cabinet or something. Okay, so how about flock cameras, guys? I've been fighting this fight actually since 2023 on flock cameras personally. And I've talked to sheriff's offices about them. I work for sheriff's offices. And they often give this, okay, we are actually solving crimes with these things.
Safety.
Okay. So, yes, of course, safety. We're giving up our freedom for safety, which is something Benjamin Franklin warned against.
Perceived safety.
Yeah, perceived safety. And so
the safety in every case is an illusion.
Well, yeah, you know, in fact, it's a dragnet, isn't it? You know, it's actually a dragnet for basically tracking every single citizen. And so basically that's what they get out of it for the perceived safety, right? So maybe 1 out of every 200 cars is a hit for something. A stolen car, a kidnapping, drugs, whatever. You know, a human trafficking even. 1 out of 200. So 199 people were damaged and lost their rights during the operation to take that person down. Now, let me ask you, I meant, you know, this isn't an engineer question. This is probably more along the lines of an attorney question. But is this something that's allowed for in the United States Constitution? The answer is obviously no.
No.
But people will argue that it is worth it and we need to do it. Here's my problem, and this is where Jake's going to come in too, is these guys, these sheriffs, they actually swear an oath to the Constitution of the United States and the Missouri Constitution to protect and defend it. And that means their very first priority when taking that oath is to maintain the rights of their constituents. So we have sheriffs out there, and we could go into politicians later. Let's talk about sheriffs for a second. So we have the vast majority of sheriffs breaking their oaths of office in order to actually help bring in the technocracy, the police state, the total lockdown grid, because they believe they will benefit from it. And so this is the problem we're running to in America with flock cameras. Once again, the perceived safety, but the dragnet is the problem. Now, here's another, and right before, Jake, I'm going to give you, just give me a second here. I'm going to give you some time to talk. With the cameras going in, it's often with public, in fact, it's always with public funds. Where the funds come from, though, is important. And some of the funds are literally coming from heroin drug running. And we believe that that may be illegal to actually use those funds for the flock cameras. So that's something that we're looking into right now. But this money is coming from all sorts of different places to actually place these flock cameras. But keep in mind, they're just beginning putting in flock cameras. There's like 10,000 or 11,000 placed in the United States right now. So if you drive any length or any distance, you're going to get caught by one of these cameras. And so I want Jake, I know you've been on top of the flock cameras up there in St. Charles County. So please do chime in. Let us know what's going up there and what you've done.
Yeah, so I want to make an important point when it comes to the role of government. So I believe that the government is not supposed to keep us safe. It's supposed to enforce the law.
That's right.
Enforcing the law keeps us safe. And so I first got in this issue 3 or 4 months ago because of Ike Skelton. I met him interning with Congressman Onder for the first time in Eldon, Missouri. I shook hands with him. I didn't know who he was. But over time, I heard more and more about him. People had a lot of respect for him, and I heard about this flock camera thing. But I really didn't know anything about it. And so I decided about 4 months ago to start doing some research. You know, I thought, what is this flock camera thing? Is this like a bird camera that the government is using for nefarious purposes? I genuinely didn't know. And once I did my research into it very deeply, I thought, wow, this is truly unconstitutional and reminds me of the 2030 agenda I heard about and learned about during COVID. You know, they want, you know, these 15-minute cities, and they want to monitor us and own nothing and be happy. And I've always been against that. And so I got to know him more and his story more, and I started looking into it. And recently, I've been wanting to speak out against it on the local level. And it just so happened, I saw an article, and it said that in the next county council meeting here in St. Charles, they were going to consider something that had to do with data sharing of the license plate readers in the local municipalities. Like, it was like a data sharing thing.
Okay.
I don't know if for sure if it had anything to do with the flock cameras. the members kind of insisted it had nothing to do with the flock cameras, or they weren't flock cameras because they own the systems or something. I think it's kind of a crock of chili, so to speak. But basically, I went up and I had some pre-written remarks, and I went up and spoke, and I spoke on the Constitution and why I believe that the flock cameras were wrong and that they should ban them. And I was the only one that spoke up, other than a friend that also spoke up against it. And later, I took the video and shared it on social media, and it went viral, and it got 50,000 views. And so I decided I want to use that energy, that attention, and I thought, how about I put together a resolution, just draft something up, where if a county council member were to take it up, then they could pass a ban. And so I decided to draft something and start collecting signatures on that, and it's got a lot of attention. And I'm just trying to get some physical signatures here. I have 100 physical signatures from St. Charles County residents so far. I'm shooting for 1,000, and I'm trying to get Joe Brazel, who's on the county council, and he's allied with Bill Eigel, and I think he's interested. He just needs to know more. There's been a lot of conversations, and at the county executive debate, it's Bill Eigel running. It's the current county executive, Steve Ellman. He's been there for 20 years. He's told establishment. And then there's Jason Law running. And at the debate, basically, I was able to submit a question about the flock cameras, and it got asked. And Bill Eigel was the only one that said, I'm against these flock cameras. And that's what's been happening here since.
Okay, so the other candidate actually didn't have a comment, or?
So Ellman is for, it was basically,
he was
for him. And Jason Law, he's like the law enforcement candidate. He's backed by the big, police interests.
Mm-hmm.
And he's for common sense safeguards, but he's still for them. And Eigel said, no, I don't believe it's worth sacrificing our individual liberties for this.
Yep, I have to agree with Bill Eigel on that. These flock cameras have to go. And by the way, this is not a slow roll on these flock cameras. In 2 years, they've gotten about 11,000 of them placed all throughout the United States of America.
Yes, I've noticed quite a few popping up here recently in St. Charles, like on the main roads.
Mm-hmm.
There's an apartment complex right by my house, and they have it at both of the entrances of their apartment complex, 2 of them. And I'm also noticing them at the front of neighborhoods and in some parking lots, just everywhere.
Yep.
And I'm just like, what is going on?
That's right. And
I have to do something about it, even if I'm just alone doing it.
Yep. No, and in fact, you're not going to be alone in that. Basically, people are speaking out against these cameras everywhere. Jake, thank you for everything you're doing up there in St. Charles County.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But folks, this is, and Ike Skelton came and spoke at Dent County, where we had a wonderful, spirited conversation about flock cameras. We also had one on data centers. There was about 80 people that showed up to this, and they were all of them against it. No one in the county there was actually for these things. But I want to remind people that these things are flying at us really fast. Remember during COVID where the 5G towers went up super fast and no one was asked, no one got a say. They just went up. And it was, we need faster internet because people are going to be working from home. So that was kind of the excuse they used. It's the same thing with the cameras. It's the same thing with the data centers. It's all happening without our permission, behind our backs. And I pray Amy is wrong that contracts are being signed before the hearings. But in the case of the one county where they voted at 12 o'clock at night after 400 or 500 residents showed up to say, no, I think she's right on that one, because nothing else actually makes sense. It just doesn't. So, guys, this is very important. I'm going to actually talk a little bit about Act for Missouri's Rumble channel, because we've done voter guides before in the past, and they're always very, very different from what people would expect. I want to let you know that they have a great voting guide on their Rumble channel. So just go to Rumble, search for Act for Missouri, and there is a video they made about 10 representatives that literally were trying to stand up to take their power back, literally, from the Speaker of the House position. And so this is a video they produced maybe 3 weeks ago, I believe, something along those lines. And this is an excellent voter guide. And basically, if you go by that measure alone, approximately 150 reps in Missouri have to be replaced. And so literally, that is the most dynamic voting guide I've ever seen before. And we're gonna be doing a video either next week or the week after. I'm not sure yet, but we're gonna do a guide specifically on a teardown on all 4 amendments that we're facing on August 4th. People need to know a lot more about these things. I think people are confused on some of these things, but the fact is, voting guides are very, very important. And guys, I want you to know our website is down. It's undergoing a complete overhaul right now. Act for Missouri has a beautiful website, but I want you guys to talk a little bit more about your website, because you guys do an enormous amount of stuff on your website for Missouri.
Yep, mostly, I'll let Mike pull it up, but mostly that was just as we were learning, we noticed we had a hard time getting the information. So that led us to concepts that Mike was able to put on the website to help make it easier for other people that wanted to get involved. Our experience was when you start talking to a new person about getting involved, you'd start talking about, well, you can get this here and that there and this here. And then pretty soon you got the glazed eyes, right? And this person was checked out. So the thought was we can get it in on one website where we get some handy tools that can help people just get in there. And I always tell people, you can't break it. So just go in there and click away. You're not going to, erase any information. I think some people maybe aren't as comfortable with tech, but this is, it's fine. And,
but you have a calendar. You have a calendar on your website that you basically are covering, basically anyone who participates, any grassroots organization, any event that they set up anywhere in the state.
Yeah.
You guys have a placeholder for that on your website. Well, that's actually new and innovative. Go ahead.
Well, we've redone our website too to focus on the races coming up. So if you go to act4mo.org, you can see our website. And again, that's act4mo.org. Right now, we've got some of the most important stuff right at the top. The first box right at the top, as you can see, all the General Assembly races in both the Senate and the House, if you want to see who's running against who. We put together a questionnaire that you can use. You can download this PDF. You can use it as example questions that when these candidates come before your town halls or your We the People meetings, give you some ideas on some questions that can really let you learn if they really understand the Constitution, if they really will represent you. They're much more deeper questions than what they're used to getting. We have our accountability reports. This was all about the last session. We've got all the votes for all the bills that passed. We've got stats on missed votes. We've got just tons of information about where their money comes from. And then we got the last box on the top gives you all the articles. We'd like to put out articles on different things like the income tax amendment 5 that's come out. We've done a lot of work on that, and topics like that. And then as you scroll down through our website, you'll see we've got all kinds of other tools and videos and stuff that we offer. And then at the very bottom of our page, we've got events that we're participating in. We used to try to keep up with all the other groups, but there's only 2 of us, and it's just too much. So we don't do that anymore. But we keep post where we're going to be at next, and all those tools there's just tons of stuff that we put up there.
Yep. So I recommend everyone going to their website. By the way, it's linked in the description of whatever platform you're watching this on. So basically their website is easy access for you right now in the description section. Please visit their website. And I do believe you guys take donations too, don't you?
We do.
Okay, gotcha. I want you guys to consider anyone in Missouri that basically is fighting the good fight. And those of you who don't have time to fight the good fight, just remember those of us out there that are doing that. Now, the Missouri Freedom Initiative does not take donations, but we certainly don't disrespect those who do. So Mike and Amy's organization is providing tools and all kinds of help that even the Freedom Initiative doesn't do. So please consider giving a donation their way. And by the way, that's how they pay for the equipment that they use. So I mean, that's specifically
for these servers that we're running all this stuff on.
Sure.
The
question is, Which one's more expensive right now, the gas or the servers?
Well, I'm afraid it's the gas right now, but I'm afraid the servers are going to quickly catch up.
Yep. So please don't hesitate to drop them $10 or $20 if you feel called to do so. The work they're doing is very important. We've never had them on before. I knew of Mike Compton. I've been following you on Twitter for several years. Missouri Freedom Initiative has. So I knew about that, but I didn't know about Act for Missouri until about the beginning of this year. That's the first time I'd heard of you guys. And so my apologies on that.
No, we just started out really just very quiet. I mean, we didn't really plan for anything big. We just were trying to find for our own information, like what's going on. And then it's growing into, well, if we have this problem, other people have this problem.
Well, it literally started at a We the People meeting here locally in Johnson County where somebody said, I want to be able to do more, but I don't have time to go and look up this stuff. I don't know where to find it. I see stuff on Facebook. By the time I get back to it, it's so far down the feed, I can't find it. And so that was basically where we started. And we kind of just evolved from there, seeing what we need to do. You know, our goals are to, first of all, to educate and inform the public, but also to give people easy ways that they can get active and get engaged with the process. So, you know, we say everybody doesn't have to do as much as we do, but everybody can do something. And if we all did, you know, even a few minutes a week or a few bucks here and there, we could really turn this state around. But it's good. I know a lot of people think, well, I just can't do enough, but just going on and sharing the information that we put out, that you guys put out, can make a big difference. Talking to your neighbors and your coworkers and making sure they understand what's going on in the state can make a big difference. Like I said, everybody can do something.
You know, and even with the amendments, you know, there was some grassroots says, well, who's going to make the signs? I'm like, nobody's making the sign. Go get a piece of cardboard, slap it on a 2x4 and put it in your yard and say no on whatever, you know, or get out there. Like this waiting for Trump or waiting for them. Like, stop waiting. No one's coming to rescue you people.
That's right.
Nobody.
Yeah. Only Jesus can do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you guys have a pretty robust presence. You guys are on Facebook, you're on Twitter, you're on Rumble. Any other? By the way, it's all accessible through your website.
Yeah.
So folks, just go to the description section of the video wherever you're watching.
Yeah. We don't put anything. We don't put anything behind a paywall. The reason we ask for the donations, we don't need a lot, but the few that we get lets us do this and provide it for everybody. So there's no, you know, you don't get a bonus for subscribing with us. We don't hide stuff from the group. It's all out in the open there. And we try to provide all this stuff for everybody. We don't
take any management fees. We aren't paid.
Yep.
100% for running the.
We're running it on a shoestring, but you know,
we're running it.
So you're not getting $800,000 checks from Palantir.
Yeah,
no,
so that's not happening, right?
That's right.
Okay.
China's not backing us either.
Yeah, the Palantir is probably not very happy with you right now either. But so yeah, we have a funny story about that too. Scott Fawn had accused Rogue Politics and Missouri Freedom Initiative for taking $800,000 of liberal dark money. When we were exposing some of the stuff that Dean Plocker was doing up in Jeff City back in 2020.
The same amount of money he was supposed to get.
Yep, and after our expose, you guys will remember this. This is about a week after the expose. Scott Fawn had Dean Plocker. Hey, Dean Plocker, by the way, had him on a show and was talking to him about the scandal. You know, that the software scandal. And while he was talking to him, Dean Plocker's phone rings, and he has an audible message on his phone. Call from John Deal. Call from John Deal. Right in the middle of the interview. And so, and of course, at the last public meeting I went to in Dent County, in front of 3 representatives, I was able to say, how many other states have had 30% of their House leaders in their state go to prison, other than Missouri? Because we've had like 1/3 of all of our Republican House leaders go to jail. So go Missouri, yeah, you know. And so, but at any rate, Dean Plocker has been able to avoid jail. but most people before him haven't, you know. So, but the fact is, the corruption is out there, and I want to thank you guys so much for helping expose some of this. It's much needed. We need more people like you. Guys, you're always welcome back on our live streams. Always. Even if you just want to be a part of the panel, if you want to be the main guest, you let me know. The same goes for Jake Jackson. Hey, Jake.
Thank you.
Jake, you're on Twitter. You're pretty big on Twitter. Are you on any of the other? You're on Facebook too, right?
Yeah, I'm getting pretty big on Facebook recently too. Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so you've had some videos go pretty viral. So, is there any other platforms you're on, Jake, or people can find you?
Yeah, so I have my own podcast, the Missouri First podcast, and I interviewed Mike Moon on that. So if you want to find my interview with Mike Moon where he discussed what happened with the live video bill, you can look up the Missouri First podcast on Rumble, Facebook, and X as well. And
Okay,
I'm also
gotcha.
People's Lobby Mo.
Okay, excellent. So you've officially started your own podcast, Jake. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Wonderful. Hey, good deal. Is it basically for the three guests, for Mike, Amy, and Jake, is there any subjects you guys would like to bring up tonight that hasn't been covered?
That's a good question.
Well, I'll tell you what. I meant the amendments coming up on August 4th is a very big deal for the initiative. We want to put as much education out there as humanly possible before this happens. So basically, I would love to invite you guys back. And in fact, I need a little bit more time to prepare for this. So it'd probably be 2 weeks before we do that voter guide, if you will. Now, we'll still be in June, plenty of time. But
I know I'd like to bring something. I know
Sure.
we've got grassroots candidates that are running their campaigns, and they really could use support. And I'm not talking just financially. I'm talking door knocking, putting up signs, phone calls, and we've got to get them over that primary line. And it's the ones that are true grassroots aren't taking that large PAC money, so it's really up to us to do that work. So if you've got one in your area, Lisa Darnell, Bryant Wolfen, Heath Elliott, Ike Skelton that Misty already mentioned. I mean, just the ones that were on that Brave 10, they need help.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Bob Titus is doing pretty good. Mike Moon, of course, is in his last term. He's got 2 more years. So I'm pretty safe in my area. I've been helping out in Dent County, which is quite a drive for me. And so I'm working out with Denver Ellis, who is running for county commissioner, trying to clean up the county of Dent. A lot of dirt in Dent, gang. Hey, by the way, I know he's not with us tonight. He was the last guest we had on, which was, I believe, 6 weeks ago. But he is a very, very good man, and he's trying to get good things done. And if you're in Dent County, please let us know, because basically we're scheduling a door knock that will be happening inside of the next 2 weeks for Denver Ellis and for several other people as well. But Denver Ellis is the main one. So basically, if you guys have time, and if you live in the county or if you're close to the county, you want to help out, I will personally be there as well. Isaac from our group, many of you guys know Isaac, will be there as well, and several other initiative members will be there helping to try and clean up the county. I'm not working on that in my county right now because, well, for reasons. But I will help Dent, and so that's where I'm kind of concentrating. And by the way, I'm a professional door knocker. I know other people would prefer to put up signs.
Yeah,
that's my forte. That's what I
knocking.
love doing, is knocking on doors and talking to folks.
Go
ahead.
I know a lot of people have a lot of apprehension about doing that, but it's fun. It's not that big a deal, and you get some great conversations, and people do appreciate you coming and talking about the issues with them. So
that's right. And for those who are worried about the worst case scenario for knocking on strangers' doors, guys, I've been doing this since I was 9 years old. I've never run into any of those worst case scenarios. I probably knocked on 20,000 doors.
Wow.
For political candidates, and never, I've met some strange people, to be sure, but there was no harm, no foul, so strange people from my perspective, by the way. So maybe I'm the strange one for them. So, but the fact of the matter is, Amy, you made a very, very good point. For those of you who have never gotten involved before, door knocking is easy to do. You get trained on how to do it. Generally, it's usually a breakfast in the morning right before you go door knocking. The person that you're door knocking for pays for the coffee and donuts generally. And then basically you get trained while you're having coffee and donuts. There's usually role-playing scenarios between two experienced door knockers in front of everybody, so you can kind of get a feel for how it works, how to go, how to start, what to talk about, and also how to know when to leave. Because sometimes people will say, hey, let me get you a bottle of water. Hey, that'd be great. Thank you. And before long, it's half an hour you spend at that house because you're getting along with them. You're enjoying each other's company. But you've got, 80 other houses to knock on, and it's starting to get really warm outside. So because it's getting later in the day. So that stuff happens too. But it's easy. It's fun. And for those of you who put up signs everywhere, God bless you. I hate doing that work. I prefer to knock on doors for candidates. But Amy, thank you for bringing that up. That's a very important point. And remember now, it's all about August 4th now. That's the primary. Right. And we have an open primary. So don't hesitate to knock on everyone's door. Okay?
That's right.
Because many, many districts don't have a Democrat running for anything.
Right.
So just knock on everyone's door in those districts that you possibly can do. And, especially when it comes to, as Amy says, really good grassroots candidates out there, people that will honor their oath to the Constitution, people like us that are just sick of politics as usual in Jefferson City or in your county or in your city, if there's elections there. So, yes, everyone can lend a hand. Thank you for bringing up that point, Amy. Wow, I can't believe I forgot that.
Well, we're so in it. I think sometimes we forget that, right? Because
yes,
we're just so
we do
every day.
Yep, that's right. And so there's some highly contested races going on, and Dent is one of them because you have Hannah Kelly running for Senate. The Senate, that would be a Senate district, and I believe that's one of 5 counties for that Senate seat. But you also have Don Mayhew and Bill Hardwick. And so, basically, I've been talking about Hannah Kelly and her role of covering up for Plocker in 2023 and 2024. So that's what I've been doing in Dent County at all these public speaking events. Now, I love Don and I love Bill. I love them both. So any one of those two guys wins. I have a personal favorite, but it's just Hannah Kelly. She's the one I'm kind of frightened of. And so she's a corporate candidate, by the way, gang. So
do you have the clip of her at that committee meeting with Jen Olson? She's just so utterly rude.
Yeah, I saw it. I don't have the clip, but I did see it.
The clip.
She, by the way, that really surprised me because I visited her office many times, and she was always very pleasant to visit with in her office. And I've said that publicly too. But I also said she ran the ethics committee. Plocker had 4 scandals broken by Ron Calzone, us, Rogue Politics, Missouri Independent. They were breaking all over the place. And it took her 9 months to come up with, well, the whistleblowers, their jobs were threatened, so they're not going to testify against Dean Plocker. And that's where she ended it, right there. We didn't get an investigation on who threatened the whistleblowers at all. And for that reason, she was protecting corruption. She became corruption. She does not deserve a Senate seat. I'm sorry if you're watching this, Hannah Kelly. You do not deserve a Senate seat. You simply don't. But there's corporate families in that district that are pushing for you. One thing I have noticed, I want everyone here to know, and everyone watching live, that it's corporate families that are pushing Hannah Kelly. Keep that in mind. Pay attention. It's all over Facebook. You can't really miss it. So corporations are pushing for Hannah Kelly. Grassroots are pushing for either Bill Hardwick or Don Mayhew, as they should. So at any rate, and I'm not ashamed to say that, Hannah Kelly, shame on you. Absolutely shame on you. We got very little done in the 2 years Dean Plocker was in there because there were so many scandals around him. But you got to hand it to Dean Plocker. He's not in prison. It's like every House Speaker before him went to prison for at least a little while. Shoot, John Deal is in prison right now in Colorado.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh God, he's at the Florence.
Yeah.
That's
we're a famous state. We send our House speakers to prison, and it's usually within about 3 or 4 years of them serving as House Speaker, they end up in prison. And so, and some of them, maybe even a little. Actually, I think there was one that went to prison pretty much right when he left the speakership. So, yeah, we do have corruption in the state, but it's people like Act for Missouri, Rogue Politics, Missouri Freedom Initiative, Misty Atkinson, and others that are trying to expose all this so we can actually clean up our own backyard. And once we have a clean backyard, we can be the show me state once again.
It's up to us.
Yep, that's right. It's up to us. So those of you who can donate to Act for Missouri, thank you so much. God bless you for doing so. And once again, I'll say to you guys, if you guys have any other subjects you wanted to bring up real quick.
Not that I can think of.
Okay, gotcha.
Oh, we have a raised hand.
Okay, go ahead, Doug.
I was just going to mention one thing, Patrick.
Sure thing.
You keep saying we don't want to become Illinois, but if you look at our state budget per capita, we are way worse than Illinois.
We are.
Because we're usually $1 or $2 billion less than their state budget, but we have half the population.
Yep, that's true. But we do have one thing on Illinois. So far,
we send more speakers to prison.
We send more speakers to prison than Illinois ever has. So we've got them beat on that one. Okay, but the other thing is we don't have to take out second mortgages on our home to pay our property taxes yet, but we're getting there very quickly.
Yeah.
So in Illinois, and by the way, I have a story about this, and I'll talk about this a lot more in better detail, and I will create hate over this. The Free State Project in New Hampshire. You know, most people do know about the Free State Project to a certain extent. That's when a bunch of libertarians and anarchists went out to New Hampshire to basically take over the state government. And they successfully did that. And then basically what they did is they got rid of income tax first, sales tax second. But now they have the second highest property taxes in the country, and that's how they fund their government, is through property taxes. What business do libertarians have going for property taxes, you know, basically to fund government? This is the strangest concept I've ever heard of before. They don't want to talk about it, and they get mad when I talk about it publicly. But that's exactly what they did. They started by getting rid of the income tax in New Hampshire. Then they got rid of the sales tax, and now their property taxes have ballooned out of control, second only after Illinois. Property taxes
will own nothing and be happy.
That's correct. Apparently in New Hampshire. In New Hampshire, that's true.
Eats the bugs.
Yep.
See if it eats the bugs.
Eats the bugs, yes.
So my message to everyone is we don't want to follow that model. And it's my opinion that the Libertarian Party has been infiltrated. And so basically I know that upsets people too, particularly libertarians that are active. Active is kind of a relative term here because most libertarians run for office for 6 months and then hibernate for 3.5 years, and then they come back out and they run for office for 6 months and then rehibernate.
Constitution Party.
Yeah, and
The
so
Constitution Party.
So you know, basically that's libertarians are famous for that. And I'm not trying to make enemies tonight. I'm trying to make you laugh, and I'm trying to make you think that getting rid of income tax in the state of Missouri is just a stupid idea to begin with. We have a 4% income tax, folks. I come from Minnesota.
4.12. Can't forget that 12. You know, what is it? 0.12 of a percent there.
Oh, okay, gotcha. 4.12%. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
I guess
Big
I was
numbers.
rounding
Big
down
numbers.
like they do to me every time I go to the convenience store because they don't have any pennies.
Yeah, no
right?
pennies.
So my point is there's no reason to get rid of the income tax. The people of Missouri have not been clamoring for 15 years to get rid of the income tax. They've been clamoring for 15 years for some kind of relief on personal property or property tax. And the GOP is gaslighting the heck out of their base right now, saying that's not what you want. Let us tell you what you want.
Let's remember last summer where they had the special committee going all over the state talking about property tax and supposedly listening to the people. They get back into session and they decide that they're going to do this. It's not getting rid of the tax either. This is a swap from an income tax to a sales tax and a tax on services.
That's right.
So let's not let them get away with that either. But that's what they came up with, not a property tax issue, not anything on relief for property taxes.
That's right.
Well, we all know who is pushing this.
Yep. So this would be Chamber of Commerce, the Koch brothers, Americans for Prosperity, and am I missing anyone? And of course the governor. But so
Freedom
that must mean that the Missouri Farm
Yes,
Bureau,
Freedom Principle.
Freedom Principle, Missouri, but they're also owned by the Koch brothers, aren't they? Aren't they a subsidiary of the Koch brothers?
Oh,
Oh,
maybe
really?
you have some gossip that I need to know.
I don't have gossip. I have PAC data.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, so they're just a subsidiary of the Koch brothers now. They're not really an organization anymore. They're just kind of a sub corporation, in my opinion.
Well,
So
a lot of good grassroots people are following them and donating.
I
and
know it's a
contributing.
shame. Well,
I mean,
10 years ago, Americans for Prosperity were a very respectable group.
no, they have the Koch brothers connection. I didn't know about Freedom Principle.
Wow.
Yeah, so Freedom Principle siding with Americans for Prosperity indicates something else, but I don't want to say what I'm thinking because
Okay.
I don't know anything on that. But I am
Okay.
thinking something about that, and I think I figured it out. But Americans for Prosperity, I've written them off now. So
Yeah,
they're just dead to me. So,
yeah, and the Koch brother connection he's referring to AFP.
Yeah, the
Okay, I
Americans
thought it
for
was
Prosperity.
Freedom Principle, and I'm like, well, since when? But
Oh, hang on. The Freedom Principle. Then I said that I misspoke. I don't know of a connection between the Koch brothers and Missouri Freedom Principle. I do know of the connection between the Koch brothers and Americans for Prosperity, and that's
yeah,
in their
and then you
PAC.
think there's some correlation between Freedom Principle and Americans for Prosperity.
I do.
But you're
I do.
not
That's my
100%
personal
sure.
thought process. I can't prove it, but
Mm-hmm.
I know Byron. I
look at
like
their social
Byron.
media.
I need to talk with Byron.
Okay.
And so I haven't talked to him in 2 years. So I need to have a chat with him and see if I can figure out why he's pushing in this direction. And once again, people, this is very important, and it's not just in Missouri, but if it's in your state too, they're trying to get rid of the state income tax. Just keep in mind, who they're pandering to is not the voters. It's out-of-state corporations. So basically, we vote, we pay the taxes, but we don't get represented in basically trying to lower taxes in the state. Corporations that aren't even here are getting represented by trying to get rid of the income tax. That's where the Koch brothers and Americans for Prosperity come in. They're actually representing corporations that are not in the state yet, that are hoping to get them into the state. So that's who they represent. Now, Missouri Freedom Initiative, Act for Missouri, Jake Jackson, Misty Atkinson, we represent the people of Missouri, the people who live here now. That's who we represent. That's who we work for. That's who we fight for. So we're not getting into this nonsense of taking, hundreds of thousands of dollars from the Koch brothers every year so we can make payroll, and then we just become, basically their lackeys, their minions or whatever it is, some sort of weird organization thought process here for taking that kind of money from the Koch brothers and then pushing. By the way, Rex Singfield, is he for getting rid of the income tax? I'm curious if he's involved because he's often linked with Americans for Prosperity. So
I know.
I haven't heard about him in a while.
What's his group that they have I'm drawing a blank on it now. His group is one of the people.
The Show Me Institute?
Show Me Institute is for it. And in fact, their chief economist is one of the ones that's been pushing this, that they've been parading out to promote this tax swap.
Okay.
Yeah. Who was it?
Aaron Pedlin.
Yeah.
Who was it that dropped the link? I think it might have been Grant the other day. Dropped the link in the chat. That ironically enough, Missouri Realtors is against it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
that's because they don't want. The realtors don't want to have to pay a sales tax on services.
Real estate services.
Yeah.
No, we've never had a sales tax on. You're just at that point. You're just moving sales tax from being on the income of the laborer to being on the sale of the laborer, which means you almost have to lower your rates to make it comparable.
Yeah.
No, Yeah, and basically all it is literally elimination of the payroll tax for corporations, or part of the payroll tax on because there's still payroll tax. There's federal tax, there's Social Security, there's Medicare. You know, so
and that's the other thing we need to make clear to people when we talk about this is not going to get rid of your federal income tax at all. This is just the state portion.
Sure.
And I think that's all going to get very cloudy as they start running their ads as with
Didn't the ad just say income tax?
It says income tax, and it
And
also
property tax.
and property tax in their first ad.
Mhm.
Very deceptive what they put out. So far.
Yep.
God.
Yep.
It's
So
not.
that's why we have to go through it with a
God.
fine tooth comb and provide a some kind of voting guide, basically for the amendments. And then basically I'll do a sample ballot for me personally, and I'll show people how, this is an example. This is exactly how I'm going to vote. We've always done it this way. We don't tell people how to vote, but we have no problem telling people how we're voting.
Yeah, that's what we do.
So on social media, often I see people say, you need to vote no on this, and we just don't do that. But we do provide very valid reasons why you may want to vote no. And so that's how we handle it. But so that's a big one, and we'll be doing that. I want to say 2 weeks. I'm going to need 2 weeks to get all my data together. Plus, I'm going to ask for a couple of people to come in and help us with that as well. But Ron Calzone will probably come in and help us out with that one as well.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure you guys know Ron.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, Patrick.
Yes.
I want to give you a little bit of good news on that income tax scheme, as Ike Skelton was referring to it the other night, and I agree that every time I see a news media share something that's pro or talking about this amendment or the governor or the meeting that happened last night in Columbia by Americans for Prosperity, where Bishop Davidson and some other representatives were there, you could see on the looks of the people on their faces during the meeting, they weren't believing the narrative. I mean, it was really obvious they were frustrated, but they were there to listen and ask questions. But over and over and over, KY3 out of Springfield, they post something and the comments are like 95% against it. There may be more likes. I think people just hit the like button because they're interested in the topic, but they don't react accordingly to what they're feeling. But when you read through the comments, AFP, the governor, all of these different organizations are taking a beating in the comments. And so the people that I do talk to out in the public, I've not door knocked for anybody, but I talk to a lot of people. When I ask them what they know, if they know anything, they don't like it. And if they don't know anything, and I bring up that this goes around the Hancock Amendments and they know anything about it, they immediately, it's a no for them. So all we have to do is educate the people.
Sure.
That it's happening, period. And the majority of people are like, I don't like it. I mean, this is not a hard sell.
Yeah, no,
not at all.
I agree with you. This is an easy sell, and basically, this is where, that's the tinfoil hat comes out for me, and I'm saying, Alex Jones was talking about this stuff in 1998, and then Alex Jones, that guy. Well, this is everything he was doing in 1998 and talking about the police state. It's here. It's all here now, and they consider him the crazy one. Wow. And so this is part of the gaslighting of the GOP. Oh, no. Yeah. You want this. If you're conservative, you want the flock cameras. If you're a true conservative, you want the data centers. If you're a true conservative, you want to get rid of the state income tax. No, that's not what we wanted at all. It's like you're not even listening. No, we're listening, but that's not what you should want if you're a conservative. This is bad. And and of course, you guys know about the scandal that happened 2 years ago at the state convention in Springfield.
We were present.
Were you there?
Yeah. And so
Me too. I was a delegate.
I was there for all those 9 hours being in that chair.
I was too.
Yeah.
Misty was there. Misty was there too.
Yeah, me too.
Did you guys get to talk with Ben Baker?
We got to see him high five with.
Yep,
when
that's
they,
right.
When they pulled off their scam as they were running out the door.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, there was a lot of interesting things. If you were observant and stayed around a few minutes after the whole crowd left to watch who was friends with who was congratulating with who had smirks on their faces because they thought they knew they had won. And in some instances they did win, because they killed our platform amendments. But they did wake up a sleeping giant with a lot of people that day.
Yep.
Because the room was not completely full, but I think it was fuller than it had been in years.
It definitely sent a message that we were able to take over the convention and get as far as we did get that day.
Oh, absolutely. And all they did was pull legislative or capital shenanigans on us. They used the system against us, and a lot of people did eventually see through that.
And you know, it was games all the way through with the credentialing issues that delayed it so long. If that hadn't happened, we wouldn't have the issue of people leaving, because people were there for 9, 10 hours.
Yeah, way too long.
Yeah. And I personally don't think, and I can't think of his name, the one that was the chair until he was replaced for the day, the chair of the GOP in Missouri.
Nick Myers. Thank you.
Did he just play dumb, or was he just having a really bad day that day?
I don't know. I'd heard originally that they thought they were going to be able to elect him chair, and I think when they saw his performance that day, they realized that wasn't going to happen, and that's when they scrambled to do, to bring in, was it Eddie Justice that they tried to run as chair afterwards?
I think so.
But anyway, by that point, Sophia Shore had her group that we were part of. We had the numbers, overwhelmingly had the numbers to take over the committee at that point.
Yep. Now,
and it's really just been from that point on. I mean, a lot of this is from that. This is where all that originated. So
that definitely woke up the establishment, and I think a lot of what we've seen since then is trying to find where they can put wedges between the grassroots, because they just have to peel off of us that they can maintain control of the party apparatus. And
and in fact, and one more thing I'm gonna do when I start next time I publicly speak, I'm gonna talk about how leadership is selected. It's who donates. For instance, in the House, whoever donates the most from the to the HRCC gets to become Speaker.
Yes.
And so John Patterson gave them $200,000. That's how he bought the speakership. This is the way it works in Missouri, folks. We buy the speakership. The candidates just buy and they do it with corporate money. So the corporations that give them the money know that they got their hooks in that guy, and they can get whatever they want out of that person as long as they have that leadership position.
But that comes the speaker, the floor leader, and the chairs of the committee all happen that way.
Yep.
It's not just the speaker.
Yep.
That's right.
That's true. But it's easier for me to actually assign it to just one role for people to wrap their brains around, essentially.
Sure.
The HRCC is the House Republican Campaign Committee, and all the money that they get, this is the really wild thing, because they do stuff with money. They do stuff with things. And what they do is, if you don't toe the GOP line, if you're not gaslit successfully, if you're not propagandized or brainwashed successfully, they will literally give money to your opponent when you're running in your next election. To make
that
sure
goes
to
back
get
to
you
what
out of
Amy
it.
was talking about, the video we put out last week on the 10 and the whole speaker fight from last time. It all comes back to that. Those guys and gals that stood up and tried to change the system that day, the 10 that stood, that's money. That's exactly what's happening to them right now.
They're running hard against establishments against them.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so I imagine with the exception of Titus, I don't think he has a worry right now.
Yeah, I think he's okay. Of course,
and
Justin
most
Sparks
of them are doing good.
But,
if you're in those areas, you need to keep an eye on it.
Yep, that's right. But there was only 10, so I'm not sure if they're really worried about it, because they can get Democrats to vote for, as you said in your video. They can get the Democrats, because what's her name stepped down. She was actually going to run for Speaker. And and then all the Democrats were just voting for John Patterson, which we as grassroots often see as a rhino. A Republican in name only, or at worst, at best, a corporatist. But actually, looking at his vote totals, I don't think you could say he's a particularly conservative guy.
No.
And with the video that we put out, we showed the complete nominating speech for John Patterson.
Yes.
And the complete nominating speech. We wanted people to put themselves in the seat there in the chamber and say, you just heard these two back to back. Which
Who would
one
you
is
vote for?
the path that you think was best for the Missouri House? And I guarantee you, as far as conservatives go, there isn't 10% that would have chosen John Patterson's path.
Yep, I would think so. I would think,
So do you remember who gave the speech to nominate Patterson?
Some guy about golf.
Yeah.
Yes. So he came from Jefferson County, I believe.
Okay.
When I worked in the Capitol, he was a representative in the same office. Now, hopefully I don't get in too much trouble for telling this, but he came to me one day and he said, "Misty, you're a Trump supporter, right?" I said, "Yes, most of the time I agree with most of what he does, not everything, but he's more of a stick it to the man." Oh, hi, Charlie. Charlie wants to get on camera too. Stick it to the man type person. So I do like that. And also, and he said, "And you're a Republican, you're conservative, right?" I said, "Yes." He goes, "Well, I was involved in city politics before I came here. I was encouraged to run, but I've never really been partisan. But can you teach me what it is to be a Trump supporter and a conservative Republican?"
That's weird.
And he ran and won as a Republican.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was the one that gave the speech.
Yeah, it was so
But
shallow.
he was the same one the year before that had already filed an anti-squatters rights bill. So when that whole thing was going on in Colorado where they were taking over the apartment buildings, well, Phil Amato had, I said his name, had filed that bill. And so they touted him as the hero because nobody'd filed a bill like that. This came a hot topic nationally, and they pushed his thing through, which is not a bad thing to protect us against, especially foreign squatters, but squatters in general. But he went from not knowing what it was to be a Republican to he gave the speech to nominate John Patterson.
Is he terming out, Misty?
Strange.
No,
he's not. Okay, well then maybe his theme music should be like the Twilight Zone theme or something.
Yeah,
because we just don't know.
Yeah. Right, he's a nice guy.
Yes, he is.
Likable.
Yeah.
I saw the video you guys produced on that, and I failed to remember his name, but once Misty said it, it hit.
But I can't tell you the backlash we got for that video.
Yeah.
Well,
sure. No, I mean, visiting with him in his office, he's a nice guy. So he's been, in fact, we've spent a lot of time educating him on silver and gold. Actually, that's why I remember him so well. But at any rate, he's a reasonably nice guy to sit down and talk with. It doesn't mean that he's a good person or he's there for the right reasons. But I meant for our group, he's been kind to us when we go up to Jeff City. We have stories about others that haven't been so kind. So, but we'll leave that for another time. But I'll tell you what, gang, I'm going to have to wrap it up now. We're at the 2-hour mark.
Oh, wow.
And I want to, I know, it's incredible how fast this went by. But I want to thank all three of you, 4 of you, because Missy doesn't normally come on either, for coming in and joining us. I mean, it really, and thank you guys for everything that you do. And please remember to look up Jake Jackson on Twitter. Look for his podcast on Rumble and on YouTube. And, of course, Act for Missouri's website is in the description of this very video. So please do visit their website. Take advantage of all the tools that they have put in there.
Please use it, share it.
Yep. And if you feel called, drop $10-20 for them in the donation if you can. And to help pay for some of their equipment and their website and all that fun stuff. So, but my last is to literally thank the people of Missouri. Because a lot of people are standing up and making their voices heard, as evidenced with these data centers and flock cameras, like we have not seen since COVID. You know, basically the people actually, of course, we didn't get our way on COVID either. You know, basically they did mask orders, they did social distancing and all kinds of strange rules and laws and lockdowns. We didn't get our way there either. But the fact of the matter is the people of Missouri are getting pissed off. They're really getting angry now. And when you have county commissioners, when people realize that last line of defense, The federal government is hosed. We all understand this. We're not going to get any help there. The state government, it's starting to look like it's a little bit hosed too. Your last line of defense is your sheriff in your county. And when your county is not listening to you anymore, that's generally where you have two options. You need to get off the couch and fight, or you need to move. Those are your two options. That's all you have left. Unless, of course, you're happy with the tyranny. If you are, then stay put and stay on the couch. If you're not happy with the tyranny, there's other things you can do. So it's truly up to us as Missourians to decide how free the state is. It's really not up to the politicians as much as we would like to think it is. Right. It's really up to us because it's the flip side of that freedom coin responsibility.
Right.
So my responsibility basically to say thank you to each and every one of you for not only tuning in tonight, but tuning in for 2 hours when you could have been doing anything else on a Saturday night. Thank you so very much. God bless each and every one of you. You all have a wonderful evening. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you, Patrick.